These are good blocks. I'm excited about this. Hey, everyone. Hi. It's me, your friend Neal Brennan. This is a podcast called Blocks, where, and by blocks, it's a double entendre from my Netflix special, where I talked about things that make me feel like something's wrong with me, isolated, alone in the world, a reject. And the blocks were physically represented it was a double entendre. It was pretty great. It's on Netflix. Go stream it. And now we have other people come on and they tell me what their blocks are. And as far as I understand, we're healing the earth. My guest today, ladies and gentlemen, is a longtime acquaintance. We would see each other. We met in 2004 at the VMAs in Miami. Of course, who can forget it? And
everyone else.
Yeah, well, yeah, who can forget it? I forgot it for like 10 years. And it's Tony Hawk.
Hello.
I was just asking you what you consider yourself now. And you said?
Professional skateboarder. Pro skater.
Say it cool, man. Don't say professional skater. You sound like a nerd. Say pro skater.
Well, that's
yeah,
the
that's
official. I mean,
cool.
that's the official. Like, if I'm filling out an insurance form, professional skateboarder.
Yes, but if you're like smoking, if you're buying weed,
but then other people know me as people know me as a video game. Some people,
yeah.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I am Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Yes, you are. Yes,
Yeah.
you are. You sure as hell are. And boy, oh boy, don't stop.
I'm not. Secretary.
From the outside in, I don't know who qualifies as a pro skater and who doesn't.
It's murky in skateboarding, but officially, if you are a pro skater, that means you have a skateboard with your name on it.
That sounds like a low, especially with like what screen printing is.
Yes, agreed that it's a low bar. And also, it's odd because there are many skaters that have had great success, but they don't have a pro model, but they win huge events. They get good prize money, but in the eyes of the hardcore skate world, they're not truly pro. Like, the guy just won a professional skateboard competition, but he's not pro because he doesn't have a skateboard with the name on it.
Couldn't that just be a choice though?
Yes and no. It's never really a choice. Everyone wants that accolade.
Yeah.
So when the brand finally,
so there are guys that have won pro events,
sure,
but
yes.
no
guys or girls, yes,
no brand believes in them enough to pay them $50,000.
It's not even the money; it's just the gesture. There literally, if you're a pro skater, the least amount of money you're going to make is from a skateboard model.
Ah, right. So it's just
the sales aren't there. The market's flooded. Your best bet of making a living is a shoe sponsor or clothing or energy drink.
And you've had all that.
With the exception of energy drinks, yes.
I was gonna say, what are you swilling?
Liquid Death.
Is that true?
Water.
They sponsor you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just did a Gatorade commercial, guys. They're not an official sponsor, but they paid me to direct the commercial. It's starring Damian Lillard. It's about disappearance.
And just like that, they're gone.
One of the best drinks.
Gatorade.
What do people think of you within skating? I said something to, we'll call him Jerry Seinfeld one time, where I said, people don't even realize how good you are because you're like, I said he's like Derek Jeter or Tom Brady, where you just get to like luminary stage and people don't even know how funny Jerry is, how good at baseball Jeter was,
because
how
they
good
take
at
it for
football.
granted.
They just take it for granted. You just become like Mahomes at this point is getting there. I'm just like, oh, it's fucking Mahomes. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
I went through a phase of that, especially in my earlier days. Well, when I was established as a pro and winning events, where I was winning so consistently that it was more like people just expected that.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't win, then it was this huge knockdown.
Must have been
like if
infuriating.
I got second place, I skated my best. Someone else skated better. I was happy with my performance. People are like, dude, he lost. Like, he's losing it. He's slipping.
That must have been infuriating.
It started to steer me away from competition because of that narrative, and also the pressure for me to outdo myself every single time, where I just was like, this is not even fun. This is, I skate because it's fun. This has been sucking the fun out of it, and I got to pull back.
Every time you've gotten on a skateboard, what percentage of it in your life has been fun?
It's always fun.
Okay, so these competitions still fun.
Still fun, but the pressure was starting to affect the fun factor to a degree that I actually had to. I pulled out of competing for.
What year was this?
It was around 1990, 91.
You're still young. Like you're
I'm still
21,
yeah.
22,
I'm
23.
22. Yeah, I had to have this heart to heart with with Stacey Peralta, Bones Brigade, and tell him I can't. And his answer was, "How do you expect to make a living?" Because in those days there's no YouTube, there's no social media. Skating was based on measured by competition. Even the magazines weren't going to put you in. They weren't even going to cover you if you weren't competing. So his answer to me was like, what do you think you're going to do? And I said, well, I don't know. We're going to shoot videos and I'll try to shoot photos with magazine photographers. He goes, they're not going to want to cover what you're doing if you're not competing. And it's like, oh.
Was he right?
In a sense, yeah. So I pulled back from competing that year, more just for mental health, and there was no resource. There's no resource for that, right?
Well, that's
back then.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of pulled back. I kind of re-energized my skating by learning new techniques and getting a little more loose with my consistency. So it was more like, I don't care if I don't make everything. I just want to figure out new techniques and evolve my style. And that liberated me from this constant perfect record. And it allowed me to come back to skating in competition with that attitude.
Well, your dad was like sort of driving you in some ways?
No, my dad helped organize events, and that got to be tricky. This is in the years prior to that.
This is all in this documentary.
Yeah.
That came out last year,
but
right?
That all happened in the years prior to me kind of burning out. By the time that I felt that way about competing, my dad had sort of he had removed himself from the organization. He was just getting older, and little did we know he was starting to get sick. So he pulled out. I stopped competing, but when I came back to competition, I had this renewed vigor that was like, oh, I'm not stuck with the winning streak mentality. I can take chances, and this is way more fun. And it was way more like my skating actually improved greatly. I won plenty of events, didn't win plenty of other ones.
Did people still go like, bro, you fell off on that one?
It wasn't like that because they could see that I was more carefree. I wasn't so conservative with my tricks and my style. I was just letting it all hang out. And the irony of that is when I did come back to competition is right when skating started dying. So I was like, what happened to the crowds?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what happened to the opportunities?
Well, that was what I was really surprised by in the documentary, was watching the sort of drop. I didn't know it wasn't it always just kind of seemed popular from the outside in, as like having a cursory interest.
But also
in
I would think in your circles too, sort of outcast underground.
Yeah,
you
like
saw skating. You just saw it in the streets. You saw it in New York.
Lived in New York and LA. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
so you were living in a world where it didn't seem like it went away, but in rural America and in mainstream coverage, it was non-existent.
I have a very broad question for you. Why are you so fucking good? I know that sounds stupid, but when you look back on what you've accomplished as a skater and a person, what are the great parts that made you great, and what are the bad parts that made you great?
I think my fierce determination / stubbornness that I will try something endlessly to figure it out. To the point where
beyond like what a normal
beyond
person.
Exhaustion, beyond boredom, beyond belief. I mean, some people would just be like, you're not going to ever do that. You've been trying that for so long. And then at some point I figure it out. And when and it used to be when I would figure it out, I had it and then I could do it again and just keep doing it. Nowadays, I mean, yes, my age is a factor, but nowadays tricks are so complicated and so technical that you're lucky to get this new one once and get it on video and be done with it.
So that's kind of the marketplace. It's like, just do it. You only need to do it once.
It's not even like yes and no. Even in my psyche, I'm like, I can't go through that again. I haven't see what I'm trying to say is tricks have become so technical that my technique and my approach to them doesn't change, and I still only make 1 out of 100 or whatever it is. So there's nothing learned in that process. It's more like one of these is going to work. I hope my foot is
There
in the
must
right.
be learning up to a point, right?
There is learning up to a point, and some people can take these crazy super tech tricks and do them more consistently. But just in terms of what I'm trying to accomplish these days, like I said, I'm just happy to get one under my feet, get it, document it, and never visit it again.
The tenacity, is that learned, or that's just you are kind of just
I was
you've
just
been
always,
like that?
yeah, just obsessed and stuff. I just wouldn't give up on stuff. I mean, to the point where I was a problem to my parents because I was relentless. And if I wanted to do something, I wanted to do it. And I didn't care about, if it inconvenienced them or not.
And do you find that when other people are being impossibly stubborn, you're like, can't really argue with it?
Yeah. Well, watch what you wish for. I have plenty of children that show some of the same traits.
And do you quietly like go, I get it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that there's a detriment to it? Not even like what it does socially or whatever. I'm talking about, is there a downside to your tenacity?
Well, there's a downside to being so committed, especially nowadays with what skateboarding has become in terms of risk factor, that there have been times when I had to like pull one of my kids. He had no sense of mortality.
Uh-huh.
He had no concern for his well-being. And there were times when I just had to pull him away from things.
Yeah.
Because it was like, this is beyond your skill set and you aren't going to quit until we take you out on a stretcher. So I had to step in as a parent, figure and say, this is done. We're not doing this anymore.
And would they eventually side with you?
No. I mean,
so
it was
like
kicking and screaming. It was like,
but then would they go like a year later, be like, you're right, I was never gonna.
I don't know if he's actually had that, perspective yet.
Is it skating?
Skating, yeah. Well, no, and other stuff too. I mean, he was really just the wild child.
So you just didn't care about anything else, and you just did it over. And that's what I always say to people: is like, hey, you want to be great, just don't care about anything else.
Yeah.
Obvious. And now this, I don't want to discount talent. You have to have talent.
I agree with you there, but if you had seen me skate when I first started, there is no way you thought, oh, that guy's got some natural talent. Like he's just got it. I was super awkward and clunky and I got hurt a lot. And I didn't have the strength. I didn't have the style. I just was obsessed.
And what was it about it that obsessed you?
Well, beyond the skating itself, because skating felt like it was this sort of blank canvas of you could try anything, you could do anything, and maybe it's never been done.
Yeah.
And there's no rules. And I didn't have to listen to a coach. And I didn't have to practice certain hours. I didn't have to practice certain techniques. I could just do it however I wanted. I was still welcomed in the community. But beyond that, the community was so fascinating to me because it was a bunch of unique people and from all walks of life. And it was like, no one cared about your background, your race, your socioeconomics. It was just more like, oh, that guy rips.
Yeah.
And that's how you were judged. And so I was like, I wanted to.
And you like that as like a subculture, as like, that's a thing.
And also there was also this
around.
renegade attitude that was like, we do this because we love it. There's no end game. No one's making money. And the music was cool and the clothes were cool and the graphics were cool. And, when I first got into it, I was 10 years old. And then by the time I was like 11 and 12, it became my identity. I could not even connect with my schoolmates.
Because they weren't.
Because they just were like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about music, bands they weren't talking about. I'm talking about still going to the skate park. They're like, you still skate? Like, grow out of it. Like it's a yo-yo.
Yeah. And did you feel like, I guess I'm just stuck with this kind of weird thing? Or
I didn't feel like I lost.
You didn't?
No.
Yeah.
No, because it gave me so much in terms of my sense of self-confidence and identity that I didn't need to be accepted by high school.
Yeah.
I mean, my first year of high school, I hid my skateboard in the bushes before class because if they saw you with a skateboard, I was already bullied because I was small and I looked like a skater. But if I was carrying a skateboard, I was marked. Like it was the furthest thing from cool you could do.
It's like such a hilarious Back to the Future thing. Like, who's that? The fucking kid Tony Hawk. He thinks skating is going to be something. And then it's
they
like...
couldn't identify by name. It was just like, skater. That was it. That's what he would hear in the hallways. And then I was like, oh.
That's why I still call you that. That's why I yelled that on the street.
And then eventually it started to pick up speed and popularity while I was in high school. Then I was a pro skater in high school, right? I'm 14.
And that's kind of cool?
No. Didn't matter. I was a ghost in the hallways. But by then I had sort of resigned from even thinking I'm going to be part of this collective of high school, whatever, popularity. So I just was a ghost in the hallways. And so at some point they knew Tony Hawk went to their school, but no one could pick me out of a lineup.
God, that's funny. But they knew there was like a famous
a pro skateboarder.
Yeah. Whatever that meant. And this is in San Diego.
In San Diego, yeah.
And like where it seems like, well, that would be like the epicenter. Think it would be cool,
yeah.
And even there, it's like, no.
No. And there was a pro surfer that went to our school. He was revered. He was the man.
And he wouldn't acknowledge you?
No, he was cool. He was cool with me, but it was, you know what I mean? That's just how different it was. And that's how different it was in a skate surf culture epicenter.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're elsewhere in the country, good luck.
Yeah.
Trying to skate.
The thing I like about you and skating it's all so metaphorical where there's almost no bad lessons to you. I mean, there are obviously like downsides to it, but you liked this thing. It made total sense to you and you stuck with it when it wasn't popular and then it just got popular and I don't think you were weirded. Did it exceed how popular you thought it would get?
Oh, every time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it did every time you were like, all right, I thought it should be more popular, but this is a little nuts.
Yeah. But I think what I was lucky in that I had the audacity of youth on my side in that I didn't think I was choosing a career. I was 14.
Yeah.
I was getting checks for sometimes $5, sometimes $100.
Yeah.
For board royalties. So that didn't seem like that was something that was going to have longevity. But I could do it until I reached an age of responsibility or that I graduate or whatever it was. By the time I graduated, it had taken off. Like Back to the Future, it featured skateboarding. That was a huge boost to skating at the time.
That's so funny.
And then all of a sudden, I'm on tour. Like I'm out of high school. I was out of high school. My parents were pressuring me to go to college, and I got a part on Gleaming the Cube.
Yep.
As an actor and a skater. So I was out of high school, renting an apartment in North Hollywood on a movie set, like living the dream that I never imagined could happen. So that's kind of the trajectory. And then all of a sudden we're on tour for 2 months at a time, traveling the world, and people are autographs and there's girls. And it was, all those things were they didn't seem like that was ever going to happen. No one had ever lived that. No one had ever aspired to that because you didn't have anyone to emulate.
And what do you think of it looking back?
I can't believe I maintained. Like, I can't believe I maintained the same mindset. It's hard to believe that I didn't have more severe injuries doing all that day after day.
If you got injured, would you still go to the park?
Always. Yeah.
And just watch?
No, or just
skate, less dangerously.
Skate with limitations.
Yeah.
Well, this is a long time after, but I was on tour. This is about 12 years ago or so. And on one of the first stops of the tour, I took a bad fall. It was super windy at the place we went. So it actually caught my board. I didn't realize it. Took a bad fall. I separated my shoulder. You can see how this shoulder drops right here. We're on tour. It was like a band. We got all these shows set. So I had to go 2 weeks and only use this hand.
And was it reset, the shoulder?
It was separated, so it didn't require surgery.
Okay.
But it dropped, and so I had no strength in it. So I couldn't grab my skateboard or use it for like hand plants, things like that. Just stuff that you take for granted. And so it was kind of like, it was as if I had my arm strapped to my chest the entire 2 weeks.
And you did, like do more or less the same show.
Yeah, I just had to adjust. But I'm just saying like that's the mindset that I grew up with because I just didn't want to stop skating.
Yeah.
And now I'm in this position where the show must go on.
Yeah.
And my name is at the top billing of this tour. Got to make it work.
What do you make of it in terms of, I don't want to say destiny because it's probably too heavy a word, but what do you make of it in terms of being the video game guy and being you were Tarzan. I remember reading like they based the animation of Tarzan, which I thought, did you sue them?
No,
that's a weird thing where you could have sued them.
No, well, that's a long, complicated story. But I didn't sue them at all.
Okay.
I got to do the commercial for the video release of Tarzan.
Cool, Dad, but can you do it in a loincloth?
Right.
Look it up.
I actually remember.
My oldest son's in it. He's 30 now, but he was a child then.
Cool, Dad.
The animated Disney film Tarzan, the animator said they based his body
I'll tell you what they did.
On a skater.
It was clever marketing. It was clever marketing. What they did was, if you watch it, they actually patterned it after an inline skater.
Okay.
So if you're watching him slide on the branches and things, they used inline skating for that, like rollerblading.
Yeah.
Right. And then when they asked me to do the commercial, they said, well, it was skating it's based on. We'll just say it was your skating.
That's funny.
Like, okay, sure.
So
like,
it wasn't even, so the thing that it was based on your body is totally made
worked,
up.
Right?
That made up stuck with me.
That story resonated. Hey, I was just stoked that they asked me.
Of course.
To do it. And then I got to go to the premiere, which was super cool.
Great.
Elton John played. Like,
come on. What do you want?
It was fun. I remember going to the premiere because it was on, I forgot what theater it is, but it's on
Hollywood El
Boulevard.
Capitan.
What's that?
El Capitan. That
El
one?
Capitan. Yeah. So it was at El Capitan. And I showed up wearing a suit because I thought I'm at a Hollywood premiere.
Yeah.
And I remember my handler or the person who got me there was like, oh, well, I guess a skater can dress up.
Huh.
It made me feel so strange.
Yeah, like no, go get.
Oh,
your
this
picture
isn't
taken.
okay. I thought this is what I had to do. I thought I was supposed to play the game.
No, you're supposed to be cool. You're supposed to bring indie cred to their.
Right. I'm supposed to look like a dirtbag walking in.
But you know what I mean? Like so you were.
Well, what I'll tell you is, you're talking about the video game and all that stuff.
Just the whole thing. Looking back on your life, you must go like, boy, this is pretty wild.
Yes, absolutely. And there were times when there was right place, right time, but I lived so much of right place, wrong time. Do you know what I mean? Where people like, oh, you got so lucky. I'm like, I struggled for a long time.
Well,
and I was skating through and through, even to no accolades, to no money. You know what I mean? So yeah, I did get lucky in the sense that I was around to do the video game, but I had been hustling for years before that, trying to do video games, actually.
I don't even think that you were trying to pitch a video game.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was. For about 3 years before what became Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, I was with a PC programmer and we were pitching a skateboard game to different publishers and console manufacturers.
Would you bring a board to the pitch?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like I did, but
probably just for like
just to
seem cool.
There were no takers.
Was Tony Hawk the Pro Skater video game? Did they have low expectations when they released it?
Yes.
And I'm assuming it exceeded it by 100-fold.
Yeah, they could tell really close to the launch that they had something special because the reviews were coming in. They would they would leak it to publishers, and then these reviews are coming in that were just stellar.
Great.
And they started talking about a sequel like a week after the release.
Well, the thing that I like about the documentary is I didn't know that you were like went broke at one, but it wasn't broke like you were blowing the money, right? It was just
no. It was. I mean, I was blowing it when I was making it, but I did save enough of it that I had a bit of a safety net.
Yeah.
But then at some point, that safety net started eroding, and we had to downsize, and I actually borrowed money. The only time I ever borrowed money from my parents was in those years, and I borrowed money from them to buy a video editing setup because I knew how to do that.
Yeah.
And I had a computer that I could do all the graphics and effects with, running, like literally running tape through the the processor. And then I started doing that as a side hustle.
Like as a selling, basically like Bones Brigade, your own Bones Brigade videos.
Not mine, but like having people come to my house with their footage and I would arrange it all.
You were just a
I was an
video editor.
A video editor, yeah. Like for the better, about a year. And you know, it made
Like
ends
bar
meet.
mitzvahs? Did you do stuff that wasn't skating?
I actually ironically did it for a video game company, one of them, NEC.
Yeah.
Do you remember TurboGrafx?
No.
Well, anyway, I did a thing for a handheld TurboGrafx machine. I put it together for NEC.
What do you like about Lords of Thunder? Lyrics. The lyrics?
And were there people that were like, I don't care that you were a skater. I need you to move that shot.
I got lucky that a skater worked at the corporate office.
Okay.
And said, hey, my friend Tony could do this for a lot cheaper.
That's so funny.
That's how it worked. And
But
then the
what
other videos I did were for skate brands, other competing skate brands. But I needed the money.
That's what I like about the story is that like you just wanted to skate.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if it was popular or if it was the video game or whatever. It's just like, I just like skating. I'm going to let the world figure out how much they want to reward a skater for that.
Well, when I was doing all that, like the video editing, that was allowing me to skate.
Yeah.
So that was fine.
Yeah.
To me, you know what I mean? It wasn't like I was sitting there white knuckling and go, oh, I got to get out of this life. It was like, well, I can go skate later today, or I can go skate in the morning. And
what
that's
stories
all I need.
do you find yourself imparting to your kids the most about your life? Like you have, like when nobody.
I think it's more about their youth than anything. You know, their years, maybe they don't remember so much. And it was like, oh, we did this and this. You know, like my son Riley, when he was born, things were rough. Things, you know,
He's the 30-year-old?
pretty bleak. Yeah.
Cool, Dad.
And so when I tell him about stories of stuff that we did, like I couldn't really afford childcare, and his mom was working a lot. And so when I would go travel, I just had to take him. And so he would come with me on tour where I'm doing these, like I'm doing demonstrations, exhibitions at little clothing and skate shops in Japan, where I'm talking about, like, you know, Japan is just there's no room, right? So a skate shop.
They don't have enough room. They're more rooms coming though because they've stopped fucking.
Oh, okay, good.
And they don't. There's just a lot of available property in Japan.
Okay, well,
They're
finally
not a
there's room for skate parks.
Enter promo code Neal if you go to Japan something. I don't know what I can't remember. JP. There we go. That's the guy who likes Japanese clothing.
Japan.jp.
Danny Sellers, of course.
But I'm doing in these little, you know, on the second story, on the second floor, there's
We're all picturing
skate
it.
shops.
Yep.
Right. Racks of clothes. They move the racks of clothes. They put up little skate ramps so that when you go up it, your head hits the ceiling. And they're like, okay, perform. So I'm doing that for.
You know what this reminds me of?
I in the meanwhile, I have to take care of my child. He's like 3 at the time. So I set him up in the corner of the skate shop with his new Power Ranger toys.
Yep.
That I bought him that day to bribe him.
That's what you go to Japan
stay
for.
busy. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, Riley, I'm just half hour. That's it. And he's just like, okay. So those are the stories I tell him.
But I'm saying, I'm not talking about their lives. I'm talking about like when people complain, your story is such a weird, it's like, I can't help it.
Well, I think that by now they've, you know, they saw the documentary, they were in it. They know most of my stories like that. I think that gave them a better sense of how much effort it took to get here. You know what I mean? Like, I think that at some point, and a lot of people think that, they're just like, oh, he was in the X Games, then he made 900, then he got famous, then he got a video game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, well, yeah, those things happened, but there was a lot of stuff in between that also had to happen.
Keith Richards wrote a autobiography. I'm listening to it on tape because I refuse to read. or on audiobook. But he says, like, Rolling Stones, stadiums, he goes, the whole time I'm just thinking about riffs. Thinking about riffs.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel when I look at somebody like you. You're just thinking about fucking, when I get, I gotta, all day.
Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld's thinking about jokes. Tom Brady's thinking about, it's just like, you're inclined to be that way. And then you harness your entire life into that. And it's got huge rewards on the other side as far as that category goes.
Yes and no on the rewards. To me, the reward is the sense of accomplishment that I get from doing these tricks, which is the dragon I've been chasing since I was 11 when I made up my first trick that no one cared about, but gave me something special. So that's, for me, that's the reward. Sure, there are other residual awards that are like
monetary or whatever,
monetary or maybe I can use that clip for this project and but that's not the directive.
With that in mind, how does that affect your inner monologue? If you know that what you just said, the satisfaction of like, Tony, you're a guy that if you set your mind to it, you can accomplish it. Does it affect your behavior or how you feel about yourself?
Not as much.
Don't you wish it would? Don't you wish it could be that clear? Like, no, you're great. You can, but you're still like, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, but I would say, like, if I came back from skating and had failed a trick the entire time and not gotten it, even up to 5 to 10 years ago, my day was ruined. I can't snap out of it. Like, and especially like my wife and my family, like, are you, like, really? Like a skate trick? That's we all have to suffer through. Nowadays I can let it go.
How did that happen?
I finally just kind of got a sense of priorities. I was able to keep, not compartmentalize, but just keep it separate and know that I can come back to it and it's okay. And it doesn't mean everything.
Here's the question. Are you worse at skating because of it?
No.
Really?
No. I'm worse at skating because I broke my leg and my physical limitations now. But no, I'm not at all. In fact, I would say before I broke my leg, I was in one of my most creative streaks because
of your life,
of my
age
life,
48 or whatever.
Well, because I was able to channel my creativity to a more low impact style of skating. So it wasn't about the big spins or the big airs and stuff like that. It was more highly technical, board maneuvering, shove-its, flips, doing things, but then coming in backwards. And all of a sudden, I just opened up all these new doorways. And then I was just banging out new tricks left and right. And it's weird because it's like, it's kind of like a juggler that finds some crazy new technique. You're not going to notice it. Right? Only a hardcore juggling crowd is going to understand the nuances of what he's doing. And so it was a limited audience for how I shifted, but it made me super happy.
I have 2 questions and then we're going to get into some blocks. Do you think you're overrated, underrated, or properly rated?
I guess I don't think about my rating.
Or do you think you get the right amount of respect? Do you think most people speak to you in the correct way?
I think that it all evens out. There are plenty of people that will say he's the most overrated skater. He doesn't speak for us. I'm a street skater. I hop fences. I skate handrails. He's wearing pads and doing hand plants from 1980. Like that doesn't resonate with me. Other people will say like, oh, he did all these new moves and created a bunch of skate tricks and was helpful to getting skate parks made and video games and bringing other people into it. So those 2 ends of the spectrum cancel each other out. So I guess I would just say I'm right in the middle.
Okay. No, my second question is, do you ever want to go into a place like Supreme, like a store, like a high status sort of street wear skate culture brand? Don't you ever want to walk into the store and go, give me fucking everything?
I don't. But
no.
But I have
I'm
friends that
fucking
work
Tony
there.
Hawk. Give me everything you have. Give me your entire inventory. I have a van out front. I deserve it. I did this kind of.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to do that.
Okay.
But I do go to Supreme because my friends work there and they do let
They
me
give you shit. Yeah.
go get stuff.
Yeah.
But I mostly go there because they have a skate bowl.
I know. That's what made me think of it.
Yeah.
Do they have one in the new one on Sunset?
They do. Yeah.
Pretty
that one's
great.
bigger.
Is it really?
Yeah. In fact, I skated it before it was officially approved as a structure. And I posted a photo of it and I got every friend of mine that works at Supreme, including in New York, calling me that day. Please take that photo down.
Interesting.
You're going to get us in so much trouble.
And you did.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, I thought you were
I
punk
couldn't.
rock.
I
thought you'd be like,
I
"Fuck
looked
you
at
guys."
my missed calls and I was like, okay, you get Supreme, something's up. I think it's probably that photo.
Yep. All right, let's do some Tony Hawk blocks. You know how doing anything is hard and it's a lot of logistics and planning and prep and tactics and plans. Like doing anything, doing this podcast, I got to book the thing and I got to do the stuff and I got to do the ads and now this time of year, it's the calm before the holiday storm, but you can prepare your e-commerce business for the holiday rush now just by using ShipStation. At one point, I had some shirts made, right? This is kind of one of, this isn't the exact one, but it was this. They have pockets. All my shirts have pockets in it, right? Pretty cool. Good one, Neal. And so I had some made. They're called the Neal Brennan shirt. My friend, built by Wendy Mullen, sold them on her website. Then she needed the space in her whatever. So I now have a bunch of these shirts, which I do intend to sell. And this is going to motivate me to use ShipStation to sell the remaining inventory of the shirts. There's like 70 or something. It's not crazy, but it'll be good. We can do it together. Now is the time to try ShipStation out if you've been on the fence. With ShipStation, you can easily automate shipping tasks and manage orders in one simple dashboard. You can quickly and easily update crucial order information and reduce errors. There's effortless integration everywhere you sell online, including Amazon, Etsy, eBay, Shopify, and more. You can manage orders, print labels, compare rates, optimize every shipment, and automate delivery notifications. Simplify and automate your shipping no matter how big your business grows. ShipStation has enterprise solutions that reduce warehouse costs and improve profitability. ShipStation's robust automations and reporting make scaling easy. And as your business grows, you can save thousands on shipping costs. Industry-leading discounted rates from USPS, UPS, DHL, and Global Post. You can get discounts up to 84% off USPS and UPS rates. Over 130,000 companies have grown their e-commerce businesses with ShipStation, and 98% of companies that stick with ShipStation for a year become customers for life. Set your business up for holiday season success with ShipStation. Go to ShipStation.com and use code NEAL today and sign up for your free 60-day trial. That's ShipStation.com, code NEAL. Try it with me. ShipStation.com, code NEAL. Hey, you know how every week I come here and tell you how arduous it is to get tickets for stuff? You, of all people, shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. GameTime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their best price guarantee. GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Let's go through the list. Do we like going through the list? Ice Cube. Ice Cube's coming. I would go see Ice Cube. Ice Cube's got a lot of hits. That's a guy like Ice Cube, a guy like Busta Rhymes has a lot of hits. Do I think Ice Cube would like me personally? I don't. But I don't need him. We're not going to interact. I'm just going to go watch his show and it'll be great. There's an Ohana Fest, which feels like something The Rock would say. It's the Killers, Haim, and Father John Misty. Haim, it feels like if you date one of the Haim girls, you're dating all of them. Am I wrong in saying that? This is all, I personalize all these people. I like Haim. I like Father John Misty. I like the Killers. Not even gonna lie. Who else? Let's do one more. Pete Davidson coming. He's gonna be at the Grove. I wonder if I'll hear from him. Pete's a good boy, and he knows. I taught him everything he knows about the ladies. He's using the Neal Brennan system, and it is working. It's like in Saving Private Ryan where Tom Hanks goes, "Earn this." That's how I feel with Pete. Pete, when it comes to girls, earn this. don't take the lessons. All right, so it's good about Game Time. Last minute ticket deals, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. They got sports, music, comedy, baseball, basketball, football, everything. Views from all seats in the venue, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total up front so you know you're getting a great deal without hidden fees. You can buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. Because a lot of these musicians are rude and they don't start at the start time. It's a great place to find last minute tickets, exclusive flash deals, sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, comedy, theater, and more. With zone deals, you pick the section and Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. It's pretty good. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code BLOCKS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code BLOCKS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Number 1, saying no.
Saying no. I lived in a state so long of having to make ends meet because I had a family to provide for, that when things started to get very successful, how could I ever say no to anything? I was scrambling to get anything offered to me throughout those years.
Scarcity mindset.
Yeah. And at some point I realized you can say no. You can have more agency over your time and it will allow you to spend more time with your family. But I didn't learn that till much later.
Till your family was gone.
Not gone. No. But fractured for sure.
And now you have priorities and you just go like, I'm
much better at it.
Was there a bottom?
I think at some point I got caught up in events that just weren't even skate related. And that's when I had to make those adjustments because it was like, why
did your
are you going
wife,
there? Why you go?
How long have you been with your second wife?
Well, we've been together 10 years, over 10 years actually.
Did she put her foot down or the wife before that put her foot down?
Well, there was just always my issue was my obsession and my singular focus on skating, and that definitely wrecked a lot of my relationships, several.
Right.
But as I got older and as I saw I think I just saw it finally from an outside perspective where I was like, why are you going to that? Why is that even important? You know, that's not even there's no benefit to that. There's no,
why would you go? Meaning like when you
because
really
I got caught up in being someone that would get invited to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know when you're on those sort of publicist lists?
I'm very low on them, but yes.
Okay, but at some point I was there. I was in the pocket, and it was like, oh, going to that, like where we met.
Yep.
Video Music Awards 2004.
A Pharrell party.
Why do I have to be there?
Yeah.
But of course I'm going.
Yeah.
That's the coolest thing that's going to happen.
Is it cool? Then I'm going to fucking be there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I got caught up in the frenzy of that, and at some point I kind of lost myself to all of these other events. And it was like, you're not even spending time, you're not even skating. And those two things, like not seeing my family, not skating, were enough to send me to figure it out.
Were you like drinking a lot? What were you doing?
Probably more than usual. Yeah. Because I wasn't making time for skating. So I wasn't worried about the after effects or what have you. I didn't go crazy.
Did you think I don't really care about skating, or you were like, I don't need to skate like 40 hours a week. I can skate like 20.
Yeah, well, it was more like there is no great project that I'm working on that I need to be skating full time. But then at some point I realized that is what gives me the most happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And not this other stuff. My family, of course, but also skating is what keeps me centered. And so then I just leaned into just keep skating. Like, let's try some new tricks. And I think it was like 2012-ish is when I kind of emerged back as a skater. And I actually put out a video part. And I remember that caused some waves, not a lot, but in the skate industry, like Tony Hawk's like in his 40s and he just put out a new video. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's what I'm focusing on.
There's no one can make you stop, right? I mean, that's the thing is there's no like, hey, you can't. If you're the best skater at 40, vert shit, whatever, like they're not going to stop you, right? You can just anyone good can do it.
Sure, but I think I have a louder megaphone in a lot of ways. So if I am doing something, people, the skate industry at least will know about it.
Yeah.
It's not going to fly under the radar, really.
I guess my point is the door never closed.
The door never closed. No.
Did it stay open for you longer, or was it just a matter of ability?
If I had put out a half-assed video, it probably would have got panned. I don't think, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I had to walk the walk. And so I'm sure there are a lot of skaters that were in my position or of their age or whatever and thought, I'm not going to put out something progressive, so I'm not going to be out there.
Yeah.
And I think that the delicate line for me is when to not quit, but when to not be on display. And I'm coming to that probably sooner than I thought because of my injury, because of my progress. So I accept that. I had a good run.
Is your leg worse now? Like your leg is obviously you broke the femur. It was pretty severe. You had to get it
no, it's more my my body just doesn't bend or move the way it used to because of all the atrophy from my months of recovery.
Just from that one injury, basically.
Well, I had a false start on my recovery. So for the first 7 months, my bone never actually connected back to itself. And then it started moving further away. So it was actually like this. By the 8th month, I had 2 femurs because I wouldn't stay off it. It's my fault.
Oh, was it really? It wasn't like the doctor.
No. It was totally my fault. I got back on skating too soon. I was putting too much impact on it early on.
Did it hurt when you did it?
It hurt all the time.
And you just ignored it?
Just ignored it because I was used to pushing through injuries. But at some point, especially within like the 6th and 7th month, it just hurt to walk through an airport.
Yeah.
So I knew there was something wrong with that. And also I had but the coincidence of one of my best friends, who was also my age, broke his femur 4 months after me. And by my 8th month of recovery, he was walking better than me. And he was starting to skate. And he wasn't having a problem skating. And I was like, okay, something's wrong here.
Yeah. So there's that hard-headedness fucking you. Basically.
Absolutely.
Your own tenacity.
Yeah. So when I did come back from it, I still have all these kind of issues to work through. And there are certain things that I would take for granted in my skating that are way more challenging for me now. Like some I've just given up on.
So with the saying no and not, I guess you won't say no to yourself either, in a weird way.
Yeah. And that's probably the one, the one that lingers.
And all right. So you feel like you fucked up some relationships in life. Are there relationships that you're still trying to make better?
I'm always trying to be closer to my kids.
And are some of them more receptive than others?
Yeah, but also just based on location.
Yeah.
Between my wife and I, we have 6 kids, 5 boys, all out of the house. 2 are still in college. 1 lives in Florida. 2 live in LA. 1's in Boulder. So just the sheer geography of it is hard to be close.
But like, say with the 30-year-old, if you feel like you weren't present, were you able to say like, hey?
Yes.
And you feel like you did it in a way that was satisfying for both people?
I think so, yes.
Come on,
I definitely
out,
had
son.
that conversation.
Okay. And it was like real regret and real like so
and also just that I was so hyper focused on this career.
Did you go into it having expectations from them? Like I always feel like, when you apologize and you like, and then I need them to accept it.
Oh,
or were you like healthy enough to?
I didn't. No, I wasn't looking for some specific response.
So it was just pure.
His response was more like, I always knew I could rely on you.
Oh.
And that, I mean, what a gift.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, I didn't need to apologize for shit. Like, what? Oh, okay. Then
Yeah.
forget it. I don't. You want to eat something? I didn't fucking. There's a flight later. I'm going to get out of Boulder. That's very funny. Okay, number 2. Surprise and shock on this one. One of Tony Hawk's blocks is having confidence,
Yeah.
which is a shock.
I think that,
not
well,
really.
it always was in my life, and saying like, I'm capable of doing this. And it wasn't until I started skating and started doing really advanced moves that I thought I would only be able to dream of, is when I was able to overcome that issue and also to redirect it to other parts of my life.
Okay.
So that
I'm
was
a good
block,
skater.
for
I'm
sure.
probably a cool
I can do,
guy,
or
whatever. I'm
if
with
I just work
girls
on
or-
this. For instance, I do speaking gigs.
Mm-hmm.
First time I did it, I was terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And I had I didn't even know like how to close a loop or arc a story. And I did it and it felt okay. And then I just kept doing it. And now I can approach a crowd of thousands with confidence that I'm going to tell an engaging story and that they're going to be entertained.
Go ahead. Entertain. No, give me a little
You want
bit.
the 45-minute one?
Inspire me. No, go ahead. You're an inspiring guy.
Or for instance, we were just at X Games. X Games happened
Yes.
in Ventura recently. I don't know when this is airing, but summer 2023. And I used to do commentary for X Games in the mid 2000s. X Games was shifting, it morphed, it changed, and I stopped doing it. And then they were trying to kind of bring it back to its roots this time. So they got me back. They got Salema Masekela, who was the voice of X Games all through the years, back. My friend Jason Ellis, who you just met.
Yep.
And we came back and we realized like, oh, we are good at this.
Announcing?
You know what I mean? Like we had this.
Yeah.
We were doing it. We became one of the
template.
standards
Yeah.
for people to try to reach through these other years. And then when we got back to it, it was like, oh, we got this.
Yeah.
And it was that confidence.
So is it a block in any, so it was one.
It was, yeah, I mean, that you're saying a block. It was a block that I had to overcome.
And you overcame it by mastering one thing.
Yep.
And realizing like, no, I can, if I just apply that to other things.
And I did the same thing with just my life and my priorities is you have the discipline to learn these impossibly hard maneuvers. You must have the discipline to figure out your life and make the priorities straight.
Yeah. And how long did that take?
It took a while.
How to get some of those tricks?
When I really
To being
focused on
emotionally
it,
present.
I really focused on it, I would say, within the first year, I knew that I had a much better approach to my time and my kids, and where it was innate. It became innate.
Did you like it?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
and that's
Because I woke
one
up
of the
like,
keys.
oh, that was a good day. Like I made some good choices and had a good time with my family, my wife, my kids, or whatever it was.
And it wasn't like, you are good. No, I like this. You weren't forcing yourself into a square hole of like, this is for me. This is my new life. But I like that idea of extrapolating one thing into more.
It's all I had. I mean, it's the one
Right, but it
experience
is such a good
of figuring something out that I was like, okay, you figured this thing out that seemed impossible when you first started.
Everything's impossible when you first started.
Yep.
And you just go like, dude, like, no, just keep going. How many hours a week in your life? Like, what was the most skating you were doing? Hours per week. And then what is it now?
The most would have been probably my senior year of high school, because I was able to get out early because I had already had the credits. So I got out of school at 11:30 during my senior year, straight to the skate park until they closed at 9 p.m.
So that's about
I was there like 8 to 9 hours every day.
18?
8 to 9
8
hours.
to 9.
But not skating the whole time, hanging out, playing arcade games, whatever.
Yeah.
But doing a lot of skating, hours of skating.
So that's 40 hours a week. That's a job.
And then nowadays, I have to plan my skating around life, around kids. But I would say it's like 2 hours a day, 3 to 4 days a week.
That's still a lot.
It's still a lot.
Number 3, being present.
I have so many distractions and obligations that sometimes it's hard for me to let all that go and not have it still in the back of my mind. Like, oh, I gotta remember to reply to that, and I gotta, and I mean, social media, definitely accelerates all that. But just in the quiet moments, just being home, like, oh, kids, let's talk. And sometimes it's hard, man, when you have kids and trying to extrapolate
They're
information.
so boring.
But
Kids, my God.
it's more trying to pull info from them.
Well, because they're,
where I feel like an interrogator.
And they're boys too, so it's like, what?
Boys, yeah.
Nothing.
And my daughter too. She
How
goes
old
through
is
it
she?
too. She's 15.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
But it's just like I feel like interrogator. Like, what's going on? What do you want? You know, what do we do? What? How was that? Who's there? What'd you see? What'd you guys?
Do
see?
you ever want to be a parent the way our parents were parents? Just like once a month,
Oh my
just
God.
be like,
Yeah,
let's turn the clock
Yeah.
back. Let's do this 1979 style.
Yeah.
And I'm going to treat you like I'm like this is a prison.
You should be seen and not heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
My God, they had us by the balls.
I saw someone talking about Gen X recently, and they said the news would have to remind you that you had kids. Like, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are?
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Absolutely.
And then the parents would be like, wait, oh, maybe I don't.
Wait, do it? Yeah, I can't remember who did that joke. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I remember listening to that one night, and the person said, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? And then there was a beat, and he goes, And I just always, and I think it was just a one-offer that I happened to hear one
You
night.
heard?
He threw a and I'll never forget it. It's 40 years later. I'm still like, what was that?
Yeah, I was a latchkey kid. I
Well-
had support from my parents, but I was a latchkey kid.
But benefits, independent.
Sure, yeah.
You were making a better living than they were by the age of 14.
No, not till like I was 16, 17.
Oh, then you started fucking really
Yeah.
rubbing it in. My defense of not being present, and again, as much as I believe in all the mental health stuff that I talk about, there is an upside to bad mental health. There just is. You
go
can
into comedy?
accomplish a lot. You can start doing comedy, but you can just, the most successful people I know are not the mentally healthiest people I know. Just FYI, like there is something about being, now, I'm not saying everyone should be preoccupied, but the idea of being present, I think I can only be present.
It can turn to you just coddle and you're smothering
Yeah.
of your kids, especially, and that can go bad because then they don't know how to function on their own. So there's a healthy balance there. It's somewhere.
Like where you want to be like, no, fucking, I don't know, figure it out.
Well, I mean, I have this one interaction with one of my kids
Who we won't
like
name.
a year ago that I remember kind of summed it up, where he said, how come you don't buy this hot sauce or this specific hot sauce? And I was like, you have transportation, your own transportation. You have money saved. You know where the grocery store is. Why don't
you look down and
go buy it?
You're wearing a wife beater somehow. I'll tell you something, like you're taking your belt off.
No, it was just more like I came to this realization, like you are a functioning adult. Like,
did you make them
go
work?
get it. What's that?
Did you make your kids work?
They do.
But like when they were in high school and stuff, would you make them work?
Yeah, no, I mean just like summer internships and
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah. But they are all none of them are trust funding their way through life.
All that money's gone.
We made sure of it.
Oh yeah, that shit's long gone.
Yeah, when you look up my net worth, that's just
Yeah,
not
that's
true.
like there's
It's
so
gone.
much bad
Sorry.
info out
Yeah.
there. But yeah, the thing about some people are so in the moment. You ever be with someone who's so in the moment that
Yeah.
they're fucking so pitifully boring?
There's
You're
just
like,
eyes
hey,
on you.
can
just-
you fucking
Yeah.
say something back?
Yeah.
Don't just actively listen
Yeah.
and hold space for me. Let's hit the ball back and forth.
Yes.
I don't mind if you kind of disengage to think of what you're going to say for a second and then come back, hear me out, and then do the thing.
Yeah.
My point is, being present could be everything within
It's not a block.
moderation. This is a good one and a bad one. Accepting failure.
Yeah. I learned early on to accept failure, especially in my skating, because I did so poorly competing. You know,
Every time, or just when you first started?
First started.
And you're still kind of that kid.
And it would fluctuate. I would do well, say at a park that I knew, like, you know, my home park, obviously.
Yeah, that was in the dock,
there.
right?
Yeah. But then I go other places and I couldn't do all the same tricks. And then I made it my mission to make sure to go practice elsewhere, get out of my comfort zone and figure that stuff out. And I eventually did. But I learned a lot through those years of failure. I mean, my first skate event that I ever competed in, I'll never forget. I asked because they didn't say they only said the top 10 or whatever it was, you know, and I was in the 1A division, 11 and under, right? There's 2A, 12 to 14, 3A, like there were so many divisions, and there's like 100 kids in mine. And so I went to the registration. And I said, yeah, can you tell me what place I got? Like, oh yeah, honey, what's your name? It's Tony Hawk. And she flips the first page. There's like 20 names on the second page, third page. She gets to the last page. I don't see it. She's like, oh, honey, I'm sorry. What do you mean? She goes, well, you got, and she points at second to last. I think the last guy may not have actually competed.
Who was the fucking loser who came in last?
He probably didn't even skate. He just registered and got hurt. Who knows? Anyway, I remember that so vividly because I was just like, oh, I gotta figure this out. But
well, what's funny is,
years,
and you're still the same person. You're still that kid who
and I don't want to feel that disappointment. Yeah, but I accept it much more than I used to, and I can go on with my day.
Yeah, I mean, I know people that are like very obsessed. Somebody I know was like obsessed with being number one, and I sent him a trophy for 9th place. Like, here, you're in 9th place. You're still lovable.
You're still good,
but you're just 9th. Like, you don't have to finish first in everything.
Right. Yeah.
Again, a lot of upside to that in terms of not accepting failure. That's how you get good. Is you're just obsessive.
Bouncing back.
Yeah, and
because I don't accept failure and then just go crawl in my hole. I'm like, I'm gonna get better at that.
Do you consider that negative at all?
No, only if it detracts from my family time, or if it becomes dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, you know, that's the kind of the era that I'm living in now, where like don't obsess on some move that could take you out if it goes bad.
Yeah.
And, you know, those are the heavy conversations I have with my wife these days, for sure.
Every day?
No. But every once in a while, something will come up and like, why do you have to go do that? What
you know what you should do? Lie.
I'm not good at that.
So you're going
anymore.
to play golf. You should get a set of golf clubs.
What's
so
that?
Like, I'm going to play golf. Get some golf clubs.
Right. Yeah.
And then be like, I'm going to golf, honey. And then, why are you bringing elbow pads? Whatever. This is a weird. This course is weird.
Just people hit foul balls.
Yeah, it's like people. It's not called foul balls. It's errant shots. You're gonna need to get up to
golf,
to date. I used to. Not anymore. It's too boring. I'll leave it to Nate Bargatze and Santino. I guess it sounds like you found some balance in life.
It's like much later than I should have, but yes.
But again, if you were always there for the kid, as we found out, he could always rely on you.
But no, I was there in terms of I could provide and I could support, but in a lot of times I was just gone for weeks, months at a time.
The kid fucking saw Japan. I'm so sick of these kids complaining.
I will say, especially if you have young kids, do not be afraid to travel with them. Yes, it'll be a challenge. It's hard especially when they're babies and whatnot, but it sets them up for being patient and being prepared to travel later on. And you don't want to have them experience that for the first time later on. It's way too hard.
Later on being like 15?
Or even, I would say even like before they're 6.
Oh, got it.
Like
so
get
being
them
patient,
out there so they understand.
Just waiting in line.
And also they understand the different cultures, different vibes.
Yeah.
You know, like there is a truth to being ugly American where you're just like, this place is weird, who cares?
Not for me.
You're the ugly American.
Pretty as a picture. Foreigners love me. People often say I seem European. That's what they tell me. Guys, it's their words, not mine. Number 5, managing time.
Yeah. I'm much better at that. That's for sure. I used to be bad at managing time because I was skating endlessly and I would get stuck just skating. And it was like, you missed this or this dinner or this, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like, I was trying to do something new. I mean, at one point I had my friend Bucky Lasik, who's also pro. There was a time in our life where our significant others were calling themselves skate widows.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to defend you guys, though.
But not just that, also chasing other opportunities and events and parties and all that. Like,
opportunities is a nice way to put it. That's a nice euphemism.
well, sometimes they were opportunities. Sometimes they were also laced with other auxiliary events and stuff.
Certainly.
It was like, I could probably, that event's that same weekend. I could stay an extra few days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to need me.
Yeah.
It sounds like, I mean, this is the kind of message of the documentary too, but you were kind of I don't want to say selfish because you were obsessed and dedicated to a thing.
I mean, it's definitely, there was yes, selfishness in that for sure. Because it was more to see my own success as opposed to seeing my family's flourishing. Yes.
Do you see, as much as you don't do that anymore, you're more balanced, you see the appeal of it and you see the sort of the worth of it?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just so much more fulfilling. Absolutely. Just a quiet night at home. And then
so you generally like it more.
Because right now, like it's summertime. Some of our kids are home for the summer. It's just noise in our house. There's always something going on. Doors are slamming and people are coming and going. And we're just like hanging out, watching our favorite show. And it's awesome.
And that's
because we're available to them.
That's as gratifying as skating.
Yes. Yeah.
And you say that genuinely.
Yeah.
Would you have believed that 20 years ago? That you would ever feel that way?
I don't think I could have considered that I would ever be so idle.
Idle from wait,
idle
I'm just going to be in Escondido for 2 weeks straight.
Go skate, well, not Escondido, but or just be skating and then then there's something else going on. And we're going to this, or I'm gonna go surfing now. I'm gonna go, and I was always kind of like, I'm just going with the flow, or going with whatever my friends are doing.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Like the surf is good.
Well, I'm there.
Going surfing, yeah. Like who cares what other plans were made?
I feel like there's merit to new Tony and old Tony.
I hope so.
I don't mean like
I do feel it just feels.
You didn't want to. I don't want you to totally abandon yourself. It's like Tony, that guy was a selfish asshole. It's like, no, that guy was a glorious athlete to watch, and it's like there's a lot of worth to it. And obviously,
well, I've held on. I just like to think that I've held on to enough of that.
Yeah, I agree.
That I can go and be effective and be relevant.
Yeah.
In what I do, and then go home to a relatively quiet family life that feels innate and normal.
Okay. So here's my final 2 questions. What have you done that was very helpful in terms of like your own getting over your issues, especially with the relationship stuff, or just in life? Whether it's 12-step programs or just therapy.
I leaned into professional help.
Got it.
Very much so. Where
therapy?
At first it was like, I don't even know how to function here. I don't know how to convey what I'm feeling or thinking. And then at some point things started to the layers were peeled back and it was like, oh, this is how it should be.
And like you understood where you got your value system from.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
How long did you do that for?
Well, intensely for a few weeks. And then very regularly, once or twice a week after that. And now, I just check in.
Great. And you're better husband, father.
You'd have to ask my wife that, but I think so. Yes.
She's coming. She's coming.
She's not. She hates being on camera. She did not want to be in the documentary. I'll tell you that.
She came off great.
No, I know that, but she's not a public person.
I get it. Yeah. It's so weird. I'm kidding. To not want to be on camera. What a weird impulse. What is she? What is she of humility? Ugh. Ugh.
No, she's just private.
I got it. Movie of your life. Who plays you?
Oh.
What's the arc? And then do video game. I'm kidding.
What's the? I don't know who plays me. Wow.
It can be anybody.
It would have been Anthony Michael Hall in his Weird Science days.
Sure.
Because I definitely identified with him.
We all do.
And Breakfast Club. Him.
Yep.
He was a character actor. He broke out of it, but back then that was the pocket. What would be the arc? I think the arc would be finding a passion that gives you a sense of self and that suddenly becomes successful beyond your wildest dreams and finding center in that chaos and continuing to do what you love through it. That's the best arc I can explain to you. And accepting, I think more like accepting I didn't choose it, but the role that was kind of imposed on me to be an advocate for skating, to be some sort of spokesperson for skating. I fully accept that.
I said on your podcast, you're the Moses of skating.
I mean, but it wasn't, that's not what I set out to do, nor do I tend to claim to speak for the hardcore skater that lives in an inner city that, that has a totally different life experience. But I can advocate for them to have a place to skate. And I know that my voice could resonate further than most, and that it can affect change. And so I fully embrace that, and I use it. But also, I want to be fair and to represent skating for its edgy elements, for the hardcore elements.
Yeah.
I appreciate that people want to go find handrails at public libraries.
If you need to smoke a little meth, I can knock yourself out. Tony's not going to stand in your way. That's part of it. That's part of the culture.
I'm more advocating for it, the skating aspect.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, whatever you need to do before pregame, that's cool, man. I mean, and you are. I don't know, if anyone has anything negative to say about you in terms of your ambassadorship. But you're a good advocate because you're great
at it. I'm an old white
it.
dude. Like I get it.
But again,
I can't
yes,
speak
but
for everyone.
skating's so fucking hard.
Yeah.
It kind of doesn't matter where you're doing it, what your skin color. It's like, it's just hard, and everyone gets the same basic feeling from it.
Growing up as a skater in the time frame that I did, I understand. I was marginalized just based on the fact that I skated.
You were a skater.
So
you were a skater.
Yes, but I do feel a hindrance to others who feel marginalized, especially in the skating world, where it's just like we're all doing this. Like everyone's on the same page. So don't stereotype, don't dismiss anyone. We're all in this together.
Do you have like a corporate? Is that like a line of criticism toward you or something? Like that you're
no.
corporate?
I'm just saying like that. I feel strongly about it. But I can, if on the outside, like I'm a 55-year-old white dude,
You could pass for Mexican though. You know what I mean? With you got the cholo shirt, you're getting it's summer, it's brown. You got the pulled up socks. You see what I'm
higher the socks, the downer the foo.
You know what I mean? That's what's his name? What's his name?
Foo's Gone Wild.
Yeah, Foo's Gone Wild. That's right. I like that dude. Shit's funny. That fucking Edgar haircut thing is such a good bit. I've never heard of it. I don't know. It's so goddamn funny. Go to follow Foo's Gone Wild on Instagram, all the socials. I had a great time talking to you. I hope you said something you don't normally say. And
I probably did.
Yeah, good.
Do I regret it? Not yet.
Tony Hawk, what a great time.
Thank you.
Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, pleasure.